Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be trying to defeat the Martin bot using the spinner wheel. The rules are simple. If I land on move, I get to make whatever I think is the best move. If I land on check, I have to create a legal check, even if it blunders. If I get capture, I have to capture a piece, again, even if it loses material. And if I get blunder, I have to actively try to lose 3 points of material. If I get any of these that aren't move, and I can't legally do it on the board, then I just resort back to whatever I think is the best move. Now, this isn't my first recording, and I've learned that these can get extremely crazy very quickly, but I think my best shot is to play somewhat passively, so I restrict the number of choices I have until I'm actually ready to attack. So we're going to start with something a little more passive, e3, and we're met with knight to c6 for our first spin of the wheel. Okay, we get a move, which is pretty expected, and I'm going to develop my knight to f3. Again, nice and reserved. I'm not looking for anything crazy. Okay, we're met with pawn to e5, and I'm looking for something like bishop to e2, just castle, get out of the way quickly. Great, we get the opportunity to do that. I'm a little afraid of e4 now that I think about it. So we'll start with d3 instead, to go ahead and cover the e4 square. And Martin is playing extremely principled chess, striking in the center, developing his pieces. I don't know if I'm going crazy, but again, I said this wasn't my first recording. He feels like he's playing very, very strong. I played Martin about a year ago, and it feels like he's done some chessable courses since then. We get a move now. We'll play bishop to e2, just looking to castle as quickly as possible. We're met with knight to f6, and it looks like we should just get the chance to castle and continue to develop very slowly. Okay, here's my point right here. Check, and if I had played one of my normal openings, I might actually have the opportunity to legally create a check by this point in the game. But since I don't have that opportunity, I get to resort to my next best move, and I will go ahead and castle. Martin develops to d6, and now I think I'll just continue with like knight d2, maybe b3 and bishop to b2. And we're met with capture. Okay, we have to do a legal capture. There's only one on the board, and that is knight takes e5. So we'll go ahead and capture onto e5, and that might as well have been a blunder, to be honest. He captures back, and right away I'm thinking my best shot at actually beating him this time is playing f4, e4, getting my bishops into the game, getting my queen into the game, some kind of rook lift, and just storming his kingside. So we'll go ahead and start with f4. All right, and he retreats back to c6, which is good news for us. And now I think we're looking at knight to c3, e4, something of that nature. Oh, but we have to capture. Do we have any legal captures? No. No, we have no legal captures, so we can continue with knight to c3. And he castles. Okay, this is way more promising than some of the last few games I've played have been. We might actually be able to get some kind of checkmate here. Okay, we make a move now. There's a couple of different options. We could play e4, we could play f5. We could even play bishop to h5, see if he captures, but I don't really feel like trading pieces and putting myself in any precarious situations. Something like bishop f3 is actually also very interesting. He'll probably push d4 because Martin just apparently has a very deep understanding of chess now. And we can play knight to e4, takes. We have the bishop pointed at the king. We have the queen cleared to enter. And we have a space on f3 for the rook to lift. So I think we'll roll with that, bishop to f3. Okay, and he defends the pawn with bishop to e6. Very reasonable, more of a Martin-y kind of move, which I'm happy to see. We do have the opportunity to play f5, which is kind of interesting. And spinner wheel graciously requests a check, but there's no legal checks on the board, which actually reminds me. In one of the earlier games, I kind of brought the queen out early, looking for checkmate, and then spinner wheel requested a check. So the only one I had was to sack the queen. So we don't bring the queen out until we're basically ready to deliver checkmate, or until we see what the motif might at least be. So I'm thinking e4 now, actually. I'm thinking e4. Let's push in the center, create some problems, take some space for ourselves, and see if we can push him back without actually using our pieces, using our pawns instead. We get a move, and naturally I'm going to keep pieces on the board, so I'll recapture with the pawn. And he plays bishop to c5 check. This is going to greatly dilute my chances of getting checkmate if I have to move my king over and trade queens. But it looks like that's what's on the table. I'm going to move my king over. Oh, and Martin plays bishop to c4 instead, which does threaten the rook. And I may have to defend with bishop to e2. Again, spinner wheel is crazy about checks, but it requests a check. There's not a legal one on the board. And bishop e2 seems to be the only way for me to defend this rook appropriately. He'll capture, I'll recapture, he captures my bishop, and I recapture with my knight, and we're at least still even on the board. So we'll play bishop to e2. Oh yeah, and I forgot that I was already down a piece, that's right. He captures. If I capture with my knight, I blunder the bishop, so I have to capture with my rook. Again, spinner wheel requests a check. There's no check on the board, buddy. So we'll play rook takes queen. He trades the bishop. And I can't understand. It feels like Martin is playing so principled. He understands that he's up a piece, so he sets up these very complicated tactics to trade off, which is what you're supposed to do. Again, spinner wheel requests another check. I told you he was crazy about checks. So we'll capture the bishop since there's no legal checks, and he captures the free pawn on e4. Right away, there's a threat of knight to f2. Check, picking up the rook, and almost checkmate, actually. We do get a legal move, so I get a chance to address this best I can. This is actually extremely intimidating. If this were a queen, this could be a great setup for smother's mate with another check, queen here, knight f2, checkmate. Looks like we have to play... I'm not even sure what we have to play. Looks like we have to play rook to f1. But even that doesn't really defend much because we still get checked. King still moves into the way. And then he'll probably find some other sneaky check. But rook to f1 seems to be the best way to counter it right now. We're in check. I've spun the wheel, but unless we get capture, there's no other move besides king to g1. Right, so we'll play king to g1. We got a move. Knight to g4. Utilizing that discovered check. I swear Martin isn't this strong of a player, but apparently today he is. Apparently today he's a strong player. Again, spinner wheel requests a check. There's no legal checks for me. I'm in check. I have to get out of check, so I'll play king to h1 instead. All right, Martin brings more pieces into the attack. This is starting to seem quite hopeless. I'm not going to deny that. Our knight is under attack, and we've been requested to capture. But there's no legal capture, so we'll just move the knight out of the way. We get another check. Maybe king g1, unless it requests capture, of course, which it doesn't. It asks for move. So we'll play king to g1, the only other legal move, and we're met with another check. It's really, Martin's just tempting the spinner wheel at this point to, yeah, for exactly that, for a blunder. Normally I just play king to h1, but it looks like bishop e3 is on the table now. Bishop to e3 loses 3 points of material, and it's gone. If it requests another blunder, I'm resigning right now because there's no way I stand a fighting chance after rook to f2. We get a move, so we shuffle the king to h1. Martin trades off the knights, understanding that he's up material. Very principled chess. We have to recapture, so it actually doesn't even... thanks, spinner wheel. Look at you. Look at spinner wheel being helpful. Hey, buddy, you have to capture. Yeah, I realized that. He plays rook to e6. Wow. Is that unstoppable checkmate on h6 by Martin? Hold on. I got to sit up for this one. Hold on. Yeah, I know I have to move. Spinner wheel, thanks. If I move g4, checkmate, there's no way for my king to get out of here. That's it. Forced checkmate by Martin. Okay, I'm going to move and see if I can confuse him with rook to e1, make him think that moving his rook away hangs his bishop, but the way Martin's been playing, I feel like he understands that. Wow. When did Martin get so strong? I mean, somebody needs to tell me in the comments if Martin was always this strong, because I could swear I played him a year ago, and he would have lost all of his pieces by now and been running around with his king somewhere around here, right about now. But instead we get mate on the side of the board. Very, very strong. Anyways, that concludes episode 1. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you around.